All right, here we are. So now that DC1, our Windows Server 2019 have finished installing, the next step is to give it a password. So I'll go in here and just give it a password, hit enter or click on finish, and now the whole thing is finished. So we want to press Ctrl Alt Delete. Please keep in mind you do not want to do this on your keyboard, especially if you have Windows system. It's just gonna go ahead and kind of lock you in. So you want to go to Input Keyboard and then Ctrl Alt Delete from your input or from your VirtualBox manager here. All right, and then once you click on that, it's gonna bring you the login page. Gonna have to sign in as the administrator, the same password that we just recently created. And here we are. Now this is how Windows 2019 server looks like. So by default, it's going to open up Server Manager. But if it didn't open this up for some reason, I've noticed sometimes it doesn't. Just go to your Start menu and then just open up Server Manager. You can also search for it, by just typing in Server Manager in the search box there. I close this little warning. So there are a few things that we need to check before we move forward. One is the name, and another one is the IP address. So we're gonna go to the local server. Right, click on local server, and as you can see, the computer name, it's the one that's created, it's really, nobody wants that, nobody can remember that. So I'm gonna click on it. It's gonna allow us to change it. So I'm gonna give it a computer description. So just call this a server 2019 as part of the description, right? And then click on change. Once you click on change, it's gonna allow us now to change the computer name. So here we want to call this DC1 as the computer name. Click OK. Once you finish typing in DC1, obviously, and then click OK again. Click apply. They're gonna ask you, do you want to restart the computer right now? Let's click restart later because we want to change the IP address as well. So click on restart later. Let's go ahead and change IP address. Now from local server inside of your server manager, we can change the IP address by clicking on IPv4, this Ethernet, right? So when you click on that, it's going to open up your network and connection allocation, but you can also get to this same location by going into your, by right clicking on your network and then open your network and sharing center. Right? I just want to show you, a couple ways that you can get on the same location just in case you don't want to do this from server manager. All right, so Ethernet, select Ethernet, right click on it, go to properties, and then select your IPv4, your IP version 4, click on properties again. And as you can see, your Windows server is obtaining an IP address automatically, so we don't want that. We wanted to manually assign the IP address. So we're gonna click on use the following IP address. And right here we're gonna give it the IP address of .19 because this is a server 2019 server, so it's gonna be 192.168.1.19. right, make it a lot easier for us. Give it a so the subnet mask is the same. Now the default gateway is going to be 192.168.1.254, just like what we had before. Right, and as far as DNS, let's just give it a Google's DNS 8.8.8.8. Once you finish with that, click OK. Click on close. I'm gonna close that out as well. Let's double check to make sure that our computer has that IP address now. So if we go to CMD, open that up, type in IP config, and now we can see that our server has 192.168.1.19, right? Hence server 2019. All right, gonna close that out. Let's go ahead and reboot this machine right now. Okay, so I'm gonna right click on here, go to shutdown, and then click on restart, and then continue. Okay, as this is restarting, let's manually change the Windows 10's IP address. Right, so we're gonna go here and then go to the server click on the right click on the network icon, go to the open network and internet settings, scroll down a little bit until where you can see network and sharing center. Open that up, then click on change adapter settings. Then you'll see where it says Ethernet 2. I want you to select that, right click on it again, go to properties, and then select IPv4, go to properties again, and technically it should have said obtain your IP address automatically, but for me, I've already went in and I changed the IP address. I probably need to double check that. Let me just obtain the IP address automatically. Okay, let's go ahead and change that from scratch. So right click on that, click on IPv4 properties, and then right here it's going to say obtain your IP address automatically. So we want to click on use the following IP address and then just assign to it. So it's going to be 192.168.1.10 because this is a Windows 10 machine. Just want to keep it simple. The subnet mask is the same. The default gateway is going to be 192.168.1.254. And then the preferred DNS, here's the kicker. The DNS for this one is going to be this guy's IP address. So it's going to be our DC1's IP address. And the reason is because in a minute here, we're going to be adding rows to this server. And one of the rows we're going to add is DNS. So we're going to add Active Directory and then DNS. So here we're just going to call it 192.168.1.10. Was that 10? No, that 19, right? Remember, that 10 is our Windows 10 and that 19 is our server DC1, which is server 2019. I'm going to click OK and click on close. Close that again, close that out, and then close that again. Let's sign in into this. So let's sign in into our DC1. Go to input, keyboard, Control Alt Delete, and sign in. All right, so first thing I need to do is to check to see if these two are communicating. So open your command prompt. Right, we're just gonna ping each other. So 10 ping for 192.168.1.19. Okay, and it's not responding. So far it's not responding. And let's go here. Let's ping the Windows 10. So 190 ping 192.168.1.10. Hit enter. All right, it seems like the client is the server is able to ping the client, but the client is unable to ping the server. So we can go to the to the Windows 10, can Control C just to stop this from happening, and as you can see it's telling us it have timed out. All right, so we're gonna fix this. We can either turn off the firewall or we can turn on network discovery. So we will do both of them as a part of the whole process. Okay, in fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. So I'm gonna open up this, go to network and open network and internet settings again. Go to network and sharing center one more time. Now that we're here, click on change adapter settings advanced, and then let's make sure these are turned on. Okay, let's make sure for private is turned on. Let's make sure that this is turned on and on. Scroll down, make sure all these are turned on, and click on save changes. Looks like I've done that already. And then on your DC1, let's do the same thing. But before we do that, let me check something quickly. Make sure that this computer is receiving the IP address. Yes, it is. So let's right click here, network and sharing. Then go to the network and sharing center. Go to advanced, right? Change advanced. Let's turn these on. Okay, for the private network, the network discovery, turn those on as well. And turn on password sharing. Yeah, save changes. And that's it. That's all we have to do. So there, let's see if we can verify that we can ping that now. 192.168.1.19, and so far it looks like we're able to ping the server 2019 DC1. Okay, we can ping it. Okay, all right, so now that that's working, the next step is to install different roles, so that this DC1 now it's an Active Directory server. So what we're gonna do is go to manage, click on manage, click on add roles and features. Okay, now we're gonna begin the whole process of adding roles and features. So click next again, then click next on this page. Then right here where it says select server roles, it's where we're gonna select our DNS and Active Directory. So the second from the top, the one that says Active Directory Domain Services, is the one we want. So make sure that's selected. Then it's gonna ask you, do you want to add features? Say add features. Gonna click on DNS server. We're gonna add features for DNS as well. Gonna hit continue for this little validation warning. And we're gonna click on next. Here on select features, gonna click on next again. Click on next. And then right here we can restart the machine after finishes. We don't want to do that, so let's just click on install. So this whole process of installing roles and features, it's not gonna take that long, and once this is finished, we will be able to promote this server to be an Active Directory server, right? Meaning now we can create users, play around with group policies and all that good stuff. In fact, I will show you how to create a user and maybe create 1 or 2 organization unit, and then maybe add a user as a part of the organization unit. So let's have this finished first. All right, again guys, if you have any questions or if you feel like I've skipped anything, you can leave that in the comment section, or please do join our Discord server. That way I'll be able to help you there. Okay. All right, so here we're gonna click on promote this server to a domain controller. So click on that, and it's gonna open up this wizard of deployment config. We're gonna click on add new forest, and that's because we are literally adding this from scratch, like we're creating a new environment from scratch. So as part of the root domain name, we're just gonna call it cyberkraft.com. Okay, cyberkraft.com. Kind of click next. It's gonna take a minute to kind of check a few things. It's gonna ask us to give it a password. I just like to keep the password to be the same as my login password. Again, that's because this is just your home lab. Nobody's coming hacking this. Click next. It's going to be checking your DNS and your net BIOS. It's going to be verified. After that's finished, we're just going to click upon next and then install. Give it a minute. Net BIOS came back. Okay. Click next. There we are. Next again. Next. All right, it's doing some prerequisites check, making sure that everything is okay. Gonna click on install. It's a few warnings. Part of it's because we need to restart the machine. So when this process is finished, when this part is finished, your Windows, your server is gonna install. It's gonna restart automatically. Right? It's not even gonna wait for you to do anything. Right, let's give it a minute for the system to reboot, and after that we should proceed with the next steps. Let's go ahead and sign in. So input, keyboard, control delete, and now you can see that we have Cyberkraft as our domain. Perfect. So let's sign in, and the last thing we need to do to complete this lab is to do a few things. Actually, it's not the last thing, few things. one, we want to create a user in DC1, so that way maybe we can log into our Windows 10 as that user we just created. Another one, we might want to create a organization unit, like I said before. So we're gonna go to Tools, go to Active Directory Users and Computers. Okay, gonna click on that, and right here we'll be able to see our domain, cyberkraft.com. Expand that, and then expand users, or click on users. And we will be able to see all the built-in, if you will, built-in accounts. Right, we got the guest account, we got the administrator, we got a couple of groups here. Right, the one with the icons, these are groups. I mean, as a security professional, it's really good practice to either disable things such as guest accounts, and if you have administrator accounts, you might want to kind of rename them if you want to keep them, or just create a different accounts and then add them into administrator groups. All right, so right click on user, go to new, and then go to user. Right, this is how you will create a new user. So I'm gonna click on that and bring up the this new object user. So I can type in the name. Here we're creating a new user. I'm just gonna call him myself, Francois Arthanas, and the user login name is going to be F Arthanas. Right, so F Arthanas, cyberkraft.com. Everything looks okay. Gonna click on next, and we're just gonna give it a password. I just like to keep all the passwords the same, especially when I'm working in especially when I'm designing like a home lab. Right, you just want to keep the same. All right, so deselected this user must change the password to the next login, and just check user cannot change the password, or the password will never expire. Again, this is your home lab, right? You probably don't want to do that ever in a production environment. All right, next, click finish. Now Francois as the user has been created. So I can double click on this and then add this Francois user into a different group. Right, so you see where it says member of. Right now Francois, he's just a member of domain users. So what if I want to add him to be part of the administrator group? Well, I just need to click on add. Then right here where it says enter the object names, I can just type in admin, key in admin, and just click on check names. The administrator is going to come in. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click on apply, click OK again. Now if I were to check this again, member of, we can see that administrator has been applied now. Okay, so that's it. That's how you create a user and assign them to a different group. Now you can create groups as well. You can right click on users, go to new, then you can create groups, you can create computers, contacts, and a couple more things here, including printers. So again, this is not a Microsoft thing. Microsoft do have an MCSA certification, I believe, track, if they haven't gotten rid of that one. So they have that if you're really interested into learning more about Active Directory and stuff, which I highly recommend you do. Because the thing is this, when you're doing penetration testing, guess what kind of a system you're doing that on? Active Directory systems. So at the end of the day, these skills, Active Directory or Microsoft really skills come in handy, because it doesn't matter if you're defending networks, you're still defending kind of a Microsoft networks, right? Like 90% of all these companies, enterprise companies, they run Microsoft technologies. So it really makes sense for you to just learn it. All right. Now, what if I want to create a couple organization unit? I can right click on this Cyberkraft domain. I can go to new, and then I'll see where it says OU, organization unit. I can just call this security team. This is really a good way of kind of keeping everything organized and neat. So we can do that. I can call sales team and click OK. And if I want to just add anybody here, I can also create users and everything else within that. I can also move users to this group, add users to that group. I can do a couple more things, but I just want to show you how to do that. We will probably gonna have a session where I go over this stuff, including group policy or GPO in more depth. But as of right now, let me just pause there. All right, so one last thing we need to do here is to make sure that this Windows 10 can join the domain we recently created. So if we go to local servers, we can see that this computer now it's a part of a domain, right? Cyberkraft.com. So how can we join Windows 10 to this guy? That way, Windows 10 can be receiving instructions from DC1, right? Later on, we might do things such as App Locker and all these other things, and I'm gonna need them to be connected for me to do that effectively. All right, so I'm gonna right-click on your Windows logo, right, in your Windows 10, in your client machine, Windows 10. Right-click on the logo and go to System again. I want you to scroll down until you see System Protection or Advanced Settings. Click on either one of these. It's going to open up these System Properties, and that's where we want to be. So click on the computer's name, click on Change, okay, and here we want to change the member of. Now, right now, Windows 10 is a member of a work group, right? But we want him to be a member of a domain, Cyberkraft specifically. So there, just change that and type in Cyberkraft. Sometimes you just need to just type in Cyberkraft by itself. Sometimes you might need .com. It really depends. I click OK. And now they're asking us to log in. We're gonna log in as the administrator account for Cyberkraft or DC1. So you can type in administrator. All right, administrator, and then the password for the administrator account. Click OK. And once everything is finished, this Windows 10 should be able to join the domain, meaning join DC1 or getting instructions or allowed to be controlled by DC1, and then it should ask us to restart. Okay, so let's wait and see. Again, guys, if you have any questions, I keep on emphasizing that because sometimes there's few things that doesn't work along the way. So if you have any questions, you get stuck on anything, please do join the Discord server. The link will be in the description, and I will personally help you out. Or you can just leave a comment in a comment section, and I'll also help you out as well. Or we will reply to those comments. All right, so computer name domain changes. Now here is saying that the network path was not found. Now this is a very kind of a common issues when you are when you're trying to join Windows 10 to server 19 domain. So what I'm gonna do, because this is being recorded, I'm gonna pause the video and then troubleshoot this, see what's going on, and then I'll resume the video once we are ready to go. Then I'm gonna tell you what I did, so that way you can do the same thing. But I just don't want you to sit there, watch me go through this and troubleshoot this. But if you were to watch this live, obviously you will see me going through it as well, trying to troubleshoot and see what's going on. All right, so I will see you in a bit. Let me pause the video for now. Alrighty, after a few minutes of troubleshooting this, finally we've figured out what was the problem. And again, I've seen this this issue kind of happen over and over again, where Windows 10 doesn't want to join your server, right? Once you finish connecting everything and making sure everything is communicating. Now let me just tell you what I did. That way maybe if you're going through the same thing, or if you have the same issues, you can maybe you can troubleshoot that. So the first thing I did, I double checked to make sure they can ping to each other, which they were pinging before, but I had just to be sure. Then I went back to the network and sharing center, and I changed the adapter settings, open that, go to the properties, and one thing that I did here, I turned off IPv6. This is another common issues. Just kind of a turn off IPv6 on both systems, on DC1 and on Windows 10. So I make sure that's deselected. And then go back to IPv4, and here just verify that everything was it looks okay, right? Make sure that the IP addresses and everything was okay. So I did that. That's all I did on DC1. And on the client machine on Windows 10, I did the same thing. I went back to the network and sharing center. First of all, I make sure that all these were turned on. It looks like they're turned off. They were turned on. There we go. And then I went to the Ethernet, go to the properties, clicked on IPv6 and make sure it's deselected, or make sure it's turned off. Then I just double check to make sure that IPv4 is configured the way it's supposed to be configured. But I also added Google's DNS IP address as an alternative, just in case, right? Just to be sure. All right, so that's all I did. Now look, this might work, it might not work. Again, that's why we're in IT, because we troubleshoot stuff. You might want to play around with the registry keys. I didn't have to do that because everything looks okay. But you might want to try different few tactics. There are all kinds of different things that you can do. Again, if you're having issues with this, I can help you with this in Discord. All right, I'm gonna close that out. Let's go back to this. Now, once your Windows 10 have joined the domain, it's gonna give you a beautiful welcome message that says, welcome to Cyberkraft domain. Gonna click OK. It's gonna ask us to restart. We're gonna close that. We're gonna say restart now. And now Windows 10 is restarting. This shouldn't take that long, and we should be able now to sign in with the same username that we created before. If you remember, when we were using DC1, we went to Tools, we went to Active Directory and Domains. Then we created this Francois account, right? This Francois Arthanas account. So let's see if we can sign in Windows 10 using this Francois account. I'm gonna close those two, go back to Windows 10. I'm gonna close that little notification there. You can click anywhere within Windows 10 to sign in, right? Click on anywhere. All right, you see where it says other users, on the left hand side. When you click on that, you're able to see where you will be able to type in the username, password. It's telling you, hey, this is the Cyberkraft, like sign in to the Cyberkraft domain. So the username that we created was frthanas for that user account, and the password that we set it up for it. Click OK, and then voila, now we are in as Francois Arthanas. So kind of to recap everything that we just did to make sure that we are all on the same page. Let me bring up my my little notes here. So we did create a Cyber Home Lab, right? We had a Kali Linux, that was the IP address for it. This was dynamically assigned to the Kali machine. The subnet mask was a class C based on the network, obviously. So Windows 10, we did change the IP address to 192.168.1.19. That was for, no, this was .10. Look at that, making my own mistake. So Windows 10 was .10 and DC1 was .19. There we go. So Windows 10, that was the IP address. We manually changed to that IP address. Metasploitable was .230. Right? If you go in and do ifconfig for Metasploitable, it's, again, you have your own IP addresses. I'm just repeating these as a way to reminding you that this is very critical. You want to make sure you've written them down, because if any of these looks different, then a lot of things are not going to work. Okay, so with the DC1, which is a server 2019, we had a .19 just to keep it easier. And this is my default gateway. Yours might be 192.168.1.1, and so on and so forth. Again, this is the path I've decided to take, and that's because I might, in fact, let me just go and do that. I might want to go into my physical machine right now, right? Physical machine, and I might just want to ping this right here. So I can ping 192.168.1.10 as part of that Windows 10. And it's not pinging, right? I think the firewall is blocking it. Let's see if you can ping the server 192.168.1.19. And looks like we can ping the server okay without any problem. Now I did this because later on, now in the future live streams, we're going to be doing things such as ZenMap. I'm going to need to be scanning my physical network and all that good stuff. So keep in mind, that's the whole reason. One last thing I want to mention is that all these were breached, right? We were breaching these. They were all breached to our physical network, right? I just want to mention that. Some people might want to create a sandbox, right? If you want to do that, now when I say a sandbox, I'm talking about a network that is self-contained, like it's not communicating with the outside world. So everything within that same network, they will be able to talk to each other. But anything else, it's, you know, from the outside of, anything outside of that sandbox, it's not going to communicate with anybody else. So in VirtualBox, we can click on Files and then go to Host Network Manager. And right here, you'll be able to create that sandbox. So you can, click on Create and then just authorize it. So click on Yes. When they ask you, you sure you want to do this? Click on Yes. And now here's my second sandbox created. So you can double click on that. This little change is going to come here. You can say obtain the IP address automatically, but for the most part, you want to mess around with this, change the IP address to whatever you want. Okay, now once you have this created, obviously you can turn on DHCP, of course. Now previously my router is acting as my DHCP, but once you do this whole sandbox thing, you have to manually create all those things on your own. So once this is created, I'm going to close that. All you have to do, just go to your systems here, right click on it, go to settings, and then go back to network, and then go to the adapter settings and change from bridge to host only adapter. Okay, you click on that, you'll be able to select either one of the sandboxes that you've created. Now if you want this Kali to communicate with anything else, you will have to change whatever that is to that same network. Again, you're connecting these to a virtual switch. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my bridged adapter. Actually, I can just cancel that. All right, another way that you can configure this is by creating what we normally call a net network. A net network. And what that is, it's gonna allow your hypervisor, your VirtualBox, to act as your router, right? It's still kind of an isolated network. You have control over the IP addresses, so you can change the IP address from, why I talk about it, let me just show it to you. Okay, so if we go to the preferences, all right, if you click on tools and go to preferences, you see where it says network. If you click on that, it's going to allow you to create those virtual switch that I'm mentioning. So you can just go to plus, click on that little plus button, and then the default name is network. You can double click on this or select it and then click on the third icon, right? And that's going to open up this little network and that network details. And here you can just give it a name. Now this one you have more control over it because this will connect you to the internet. Now the last one I just mentioned, the sandbox, it's not going to do that. Okay, but this will definitely connect you to the internet. So here I can just say switch 5. I just like to call them SW for a switch. All right, we can configure, we can make sure that it supports DHCP, which means every one of these computers, if we assign it to this switch, it's gonna be assigned an IP address automatically. Okay, so this right here, we can have this be a 10.0.0.1 or .0/24 network. Okay, so DHCP is connected. Can click OK, and now click OK again. Now that's it. That's all you have to do. So all you need to do, and this is very critical, and some people really skip this step, is go back to your settings and making sure that it's connected to that network. Now in the case of that, that net network, you have to click on attach to, and then go to the net network, and then you'll be able to select all the network that you've created. So in this case, it might be switch 5. You click OK. You connect all these to the same switch, and off you go. All right, that's it. So I'm not gonna change anything. I like my bridged network. So I'm gonna keep everything on the bridge to network, and I should be able to have these communicating. I thank you all for taking the time to stick around with me. Again, I'm gonna have these as live streams every Friday. I mean, every other week is Friday, but if more people are interested, I'm gonna do these on a weekly basis. All right, see y'all next time. Bye for now.